Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing our work with our platformer game and specifically look at having a score system within our game. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to end up modifying one of our objects that we already have existing. We have an object room restart. I'm going to rename room restart to instead be OBJ game. This is going to have a couple of things running in the background that we're going to always want to keep built in within it. And so this specifically restarts an individual room. That's going to stay there, but I'm going to add a create event. And this is actually going to help us build up some global variables. And so, as we've mentioned before, the global variables are maintained across the board for our game, and we're going to create two global variables. The kills as a whole, the kills for the current room, and then the text scale equals to 1. So now that we've got these three variables created, we're going to go ahead and add another small event under other, under room start. Every time we start a room, we set room counter. Our room counter for global.kills room should be reset to 0. So we're keeping track of all of the kills and the kills per room. We'll see why we're doing this later. Now that we have those two parts, we need to draw our GUI. And this will draw kill count in the top right. At least that's our end result. So for us to draw it at all, I'm going to first check if the room is not equal to the main menu room, because this object that we have, we want it to be persistent, and we're going to actually have this in all of our rooms. But since it's persistent, anytime that you transition, it'll keep whatever the previous room's settings were for this object. And so we want to make sure it is not in the room menu because we don't want to have the kill count pop up while you're in the menu. And the instance exists of the OBJ player. We only want this to work if the player is in fact still alive. Once you die, we can just remove this. And global.kills is greater than 0. If we have all of that, let me make it a little bit bigger for y'all. If we have all of that going, then we can go ahead and draw our text. And so we can have text scale is equal to maximum of our current text scale times 95% or 100%. That way we don't have it get too big, for not to get too small. This allows it to slowly decrease in size because every time we get a kill, we want this to kind of grow larger and then shrink back down. And this has it slowly shrink back down until it gets to 1. Then we're going to call that function we made a very long time ago for drawing text onto the screen. C_black is the first parameter. What font we're going to have, I'm going to use the same font as we had for the menu. And then where is it going to reference in respect to the right side for the horizontal and the top for the vertical. Once that's set up, we're going to do draw underscore text underscore transformed. And then we're going to display underscore get GUI width minus, and then, so this is going to specify our X value, how far off from the right side I want this to begin displaying the text at. I'm going to give it 10 pixels. seems decent enough. Then what is our Y value? How many pixels down from the top? I'm gonna probably just set it to 15. Then I'm gonna push this to the next line just to make it easier to read. What are we drawing? And that is string global dot kills. So the string version of this variable concatenated to the text kills. And then what size is this text scale? Then Y scale, we're not going to change the Y scale. No, sorry. It is the same size. It's scaled both. It's the angle that we don't have anything to. This creates our shadow, and then we actually draw the text itself, draw set color, the C underscore white. And we're going to copy, draw set text here, except we're going to have it slightly shifted. I'll set this to 2 pixels over and 2 pixels under. And then the exact same thing. Now it'll display the text with 2 versions of it copied on to just have that little shadow effect. We did the same thing whenever we created our menu. With this, we should now be good to go into the rooms in our main menu room, throw in our restart, our OBJ game now, and then in testing, it should already be there. I believe I have it under, yeah, it is under enemies. I should move it over to, delete that, and I'm just going to move it over to the same level as the player OBJ game and throw that there. Again, it has no sprite, so it doesn't really matter. Now that we have it in both rooms, let's go ahead and test this to see how this looks. No, wait, no, we forgot one step. If we leave it as is, it'll never actually show up because we never actually increase the kill count whenever we kill our enemy. If we go back over to our enemy and in the begin step in here, whenever it checks to see if it's been killed, we need to, of course, actually address updating the kill count. So if an instance exists of OBJ player, if the player is still alive, just in case somehow you get a kill after you've died, we're not going to count it. The global.kills increments by 1, global.kills or room is also incremented, and OBJ underscore game dot text scale is going to be set to 2. So it'll double the size of it temporarily until it goes back down to 1. Then of course it does everything else. Now with that, it should display onto the screen. Now let's go ahead and run this and take a look at what we get out of this. And so jumping into our testing room, we get our axe, we get the gun. Okay, I need to actually live long enough to kill somebody to test out this feature. Okay, we got 1 kill, 2 kills, and we see it kind of bumps up a bit. It's not exactly perfect. I might want to play around with the font because, or unless I spelled something wrong. Yeah, the eye kind of looks funny. I need to check if I wrote the correct code. Kills, yes, but the font's not exactly perfect. Maybe if I do it all caps or change the font, again, I'll play around with that to perfect it. Let me see if it's all caps, maybe it looks better. We'll try that next time. Then if I restart the room, we now have an issue. It's keeping track of the stuff, but it never updates it over the fact that I should have it reset back to 0, which is why we're keeping track of the variable that kills this room. Let's go ahead and jump into our player dead object, obj player dead. And inside our create, whenever we create the dead player, we need to add in one little check, global kills minus equals global dot kills room. Now with this being set up, whenever we die, it should be reset back to 0. And then if we jumped into another room, it'll correctly keep track of it per room. And if we're to die in a second room, we won't have to worry about anything being lost other than the kills in that individual room. So jumping through here, get rid of some of these enemies. Okay. I died, but I got 1 kill. I restarted. It still marks us as no kills since nothing's being displayed. And so that means it's working correctly. So now that we have that, the only thing that we have left is to make sure it can load into our games correctly with our kill count if we're to load in at a later level. So that is simply updating 2 other parts. Our player, where we save the file. We also want to save not the room, but global.kills. Save that just as a second number. Then back over in menu, under our step event, over here, whenever we read in a file, we're going to have global.kills get updated to file underscore text read from our file. With this, we will now have the ability to load into the game with the correct numbers, and then we can test that out. I'm going to duplicate the testing room, and over here, I'm going to remap out the level end to make sure this takes us to the other room, just so you can see that it is actually working. So this will be room testing 4. Now let's go ahead and try this out. So with this, not only are we going to keep track of how many kills we have per room, if we're to exit the game and load back in, it'll still keep the total kill count correctly. And so back into here, testing room, inside here, I might have to mess around with those enemies. This level is kind of hard. Okay, got 1 kill. 2, I'm gonna see if I can skip past all of this, get to the end. All right, we have got it reset to 0, which is what's not supposed to do. Let's see, where did I go wrong? Let me double check something. All right, I found my mistake. So what was going on was that within the testing room, what I was not supposed to be doing is, while in the main menu, we do have the object game, we actually don't need it in the other rooms because it is persistent. It will exist in all of them because it has to exist in all of them. And so that was accidentally causing it to override it whenever there is another one in this room, resetting it back to 0. Once we remove that, then whenever we go in the game, and so I have my save in here. We go, it's 5. If I were to get killed right here, I died, resets it for this room. There's now 4 kills in the room. I died. It stays at 4 because I haven't killed anyone in this room. Let me get past this room. I'm at 6. I can jump into the next room. Still at 6. Take someone out here. It jumps up to 7, but if I were to die, let's say here, it goes back to 6 because it doesn't have any of the new values. Then if I could quickly get past these guys, as you can see, I removed a couple of them because of getting annoying doing my testing. Jump over here. There's 9 kills in this room and I can exit. And if I were to continue, I still have my 9 kills because it loads in from that. We now have a means of having the score be kept up, updated, and so we can play our game with all the text displaying correctly and keeping track of how many kills that we've gotten thus far. So if you have any questions or need any assistance, just let me know in class. Otherwise, that wraps up this video. Everyone have a good one.